Watch World War II in 24 minutes. World War II. In human history. Global war on an unprecedented scale. The scale of this war has never been greater. 6 years from 1939 to 1945. 61 countries participated in the exhibition. More than 100 million exhibitors. 2 billion were involved in the war, directly or indirectly due to war. The death toll is approximately 70 million. The number of injured reached 130 million, causing economic losses of up to $40,000 billion. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in chronological order. Understand the detailed process of World War II in one go. January 18, 1919. In the United States and the United Kingdom, the victorious powers of the First World War led by France begin a meeting at the Palace of Versailles in Paris. Negotiate a plan for the defeat of Germany. This is the famous Paris Peace Conference in world history. After several discussions, finally, on June 28, 1919, the victorious nations and Germany signed the famous Contract of Versailles. In the Contract of Versailles, victory versus Germany. The country has taken various restrictive measures. Germany was redrawn. Divide up all of Germany's overseas colonies. Make Germany pay huge reparations. Limiting Germany's armament party. Germany under the weight of war wounds and contracts. Domestic economic collapse. Inflation is rampant. People's living standards have plummeted. Eggs are essential for life. Milk and bread were once luxury goods. Therefore, this contract. The seeds of revenge were planted in the hearts of the Germans. In 1919, Drexler. The establishment of the German Workers' Party in Munich. In the same year, Hitler joined and took control of the party. April 1920. German Workers' Party. Renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party. And the German Nazi Party. At a conference held in Washington in 1921. Japan's naval power. Due to the severe restrictions of Western imperialism. This makes Japan's domestic. I really hated Versailles after World War I. Washington's system. Then the fascist group began rising majestically in Japan. By the 1930s, fascist forces in Japan, already very powerful. 1922 founder of the Italian National Fascist Party, Mussolini, organized the Black Mountain Army to launch a riot, march on Rome, the capital of Italy, and coerced the King of Italy to appoint Xi as prime minister. The Italian government finally compromised. Mussolini formed a cabinet in October of the same year. The establishment of the world's first fascist dictatorship. Mussolini's power grab. He provided inspiration for his friend Hitler. November 8, 1923. Hitler thought the timing was right. He was determined to follow the example of Mussolini and march on Rome. Model for seizing power. Start planning a march on Berlin. Launched a beer hall riot. But it ended in failure. Hitler was arrested and imprisoned. The government banned the Nazi Party. Closed Nazi newspaper. In 1925, after being released from prison, Hitler rebuilt the Nazi Party and established the SS. 1929. The world economic crisis broke out first in the United States. And it quickly spread to the entire capitalist world. In this economic crisis, United States and other countries, the New Deal was adopted to restore economic development. But Germany, Japan and other countries have adopted fascist dictatorship to get out of the economic crisis. In 1931, the Nazi Party under Hitler has grown to 3 million, becoming a mainstream political party in Germany. In the same year, Japan moved to the mainland. Attention to the economic crisis. They started waging aggressive wars. On September 18, Japan launched the September 18 incident. Occupy northeast China. China's 14-year anti-Japanese war began. It also kicked off the World Anti-Fascist War. 1932. The Nazi Party, representing the forces of German fascism, became the largest party in Germany. In 1933, Hitler was in the German military. With the support of the monopoly bourgeoisie, come to power as the head of Germany. Immediately after Hitler gained power, the government banned all non-Nazi political parties in Germany. And Will the artist, writers and Jewish Germans were targeted. They were forbidden to publish books, to publish works that promoted ideas. In 1935, under the impact of the global economic crisis, Italy also pursued a policy of expansion. The Mussolini government has determined territorial expansion. It is a necessary means to relieve domestic economic pressure. They invaded Ethiopia, facing the rise and expansion of German, Italian, and Japanese fascists. Major Western powers such as Britain, France, and the United States, instead of stepping forward, they took measures to protect themselves. A policy of appeasement. This has greatly contributed to the arrogance of the fascist state. In the same year, Hitler broke the contract of Versailles, overtly expand the army 550,000 and form an air force, accelerated the pace of external expansion. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War broke out. The government of the Republic and the National Army wait for the right wing to confront. The Soviet Union and Mexico supported the government of the Republic, while Nazi Germany and Italy supported the National Army. Spanish Civil War. It has been identified as a prelude to World War II. The Axis powers and anti-fascist allies. The proxy war in ideology. July 7, 1937. Japan provoked the Lugo Bridge incident. Launch a full-scale war of aggression against China. Chinese soldiers and civilians rise up in resistance. The anti-Japanese National United Front is formally formed. China launched the upsurge of the whole nation's anti-Japanese war. This is also considered World War II. Signs of an outbreak in Asia. On August 13, the Battle of Songhu broke out. Battle of Songhu. China and Japan. The first major battle in the anti-Japanese war. It is also the scale of the entire Sino-Japanese war. The greatest battle of all. Under the brave resistance of the vast number of patriotic soldiers, shattered Japan's plan to destroy China in 3 months. December 13, 1937. The Japanese invaders occupied Nanjing. Carried out the horrific Nanjing massacre. March 1938. Hitler sent troops to invade Austria, and quickly annexed Austria. And Britain and France not only did not stop, but also for general appeasement in Europe. Seek peace for a generation, at the expense of Czechoslovakia. Signing the Munich Agreement with Germany and Italy. Will Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland, was ceded to Germany. Encourage German aggression and expansion. March 1939. Germany reneges on the Munich Agreement, sending troops to occupy the entire territory of Czechoslovakia. It greatly increased Germany's military and economic power. Then Hitler tried to connect the East and West regions. Demands that Poland give up the Danzig region. Britain and France made it clear that, if Hitler attacked Poland, would declare war on Germany. But Hitler at this time, I don't care if Britain and France go to war. May to August 1939. Hitler, through Foreign Minister Ribbentrop, repeatedly expressed to the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany had no intention of invading the Soviet Union, and hoped to improve their relationship with each other. The Soviet Union was dissatisfied with the British and French appeasement policies. At the same time, for the security of their own country, it was convenient for Germany to sign the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact and discuss the partition of Poland and the Eastern European sphere of influence. September 1, 1939. Hitler dispatched 58 divisions, 2,800 tanks, 2,000 aircraft and 6,000 artillery pieces. Launched a lightning attack on Poland. On September 3, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II officially broke out. But Britain and France actually just declared not to fight. It was a sit-in. 1 month later. The fall of Poland. According to the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact, the Soviet Union annexed territory in eastern Poland. Germany annexed territory in western Poland. At the same time, the Soviet Union and Germany began to capture and kill Poles. Hitler sent the SS to massacre Polish Jews. November 26, 1939. The Soviet Union staged the Manila shelling and used that as an excuse assembled over 1 million troops to invade Finland. In this war, the Soviet Union can be said to be, you can see your eyes as big as your face. More than 1 million troops, due to unfamiliar terrain and poor command, was hit hard by guerrilla tactics. 200,000 Finnish army. In the end, the Soviets paid 400,000 casualties. They narrowly won the war. Historical Winter War. The performance of the Soviet Union in this war. It also caused Hitler to launch an invasion. The Soviet Union's intentions are more confident, and began to contact Finland to join its program. April 9, 1940. Hitler wanted to ensure the supply of iron ore. The Germans invaded Norway and Denmark, and quickly occupied both countries. May 10, 1940. Hitler followed the Manstein Plan. Mobilize 3 million forces, 2,700 tanks, 5,100 aircraft. Bypass the heavily armed Maginot Line. Invasion of Western European countries. On May 13, Churchill became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and changed the previous policy of appeasement. Persist in opposing Germany. During the period, Italy took advantage of the fire. Send troops to declare war on Britain and France. On May 26, the Dunkirk evacuation took place. 340,000 the Allies successfully escaped the German encirclement. Retreat to the UK. This is World War II. The largest military withdrawal. On June 22, France surrendered to Germany. Less than 2 months, the German army completely occupied the Western European continent. After the fall of France, de Gaulle established a free French government in England. Continued to resist German aggression. July 6, 1940. Hitler. To begin planning a Sea Lion invasion of Britain. To ensure the smooth implementation of the sea crossing landing operation, the Germans planned to seize air supremacy first. On July 10, the Germans launched the Battle of Britain. It was the largest air battle of World War II. The two sides have dispatched more than 6,000 aircraft. In this air battle, the Royal Air Force was under the command of Churchill. They fought valiantly against the Germans. The final British Army. Loss of 1,744 aircraft. And the cost of 1,542 pilots. Destroyed 1977 German aircraft. And 2,585 pilots. After the war, Germany lost a large number of fighter jets and pilots. And cannot gain air superiority over the English Channel. Had to abandon the Sea Lion plan to invade Britain. They turned their strategic focus to the eastern battlefield. September 27, 1940. Diplomatic representatives of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Signing of the Triple Alliance Treaty in Berlin. This marked the official establishment of the Axis powers. Then Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Finland joined the Axis camp one after another. December 18, 1940. Italy attacks Greece, but met with tenacious resistance. April 6, 1941. Germany invaded Greece and Yugoslavia, and quickly conquered both countries. So far in the European battlefield, except for the UK, Germany cleared the main obstacle to the conquest of the Soviet Union. June 22, 1941. Germany breaks the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact, together with Serbian countries such as Hungary, Romania, Finland, etc. According to the pre-planned Barbarossa Plan. Assembled 190 divisions, 4,900 aircraft, 3,700 tanks, 47,000 cannons and 190 warships, 5.50 million forces. Formed into 3 army groups. 3 directions from north, center, and south. Launch a blitz attack on the Soviet Union. The Great Patriotic War broke out in full swing. Early war. Due to the fascist surprise attack, the Soviet army was defeated again and again. Less than a month, the Germans captured a large part of the Soviet Union. July 3, 1941. Soviet leader Stalin gave a radio address. Call on the people of all ethnic groups in the Soviet Union to rise up to defend the motherland. Under the leadership of Stalin, Soviet soldiers and civilians resisted bravely. Retreat to the mainland defensive zone one after another. July 7, 1941. the Germans launched a massive siege in the Kiev region. This battle almost completely surrounded the southwest front of the Soviet Red Army. 660,000 Soviet captured. 160,000 casualties. Historically known as the Battle of Kiev. September 30, 1941. Hitler delusions before the terrible cold came. Capture Moscow in one fell swoop. He mobilized 1.80 million invading troops. 14,000 cannons and mortars. 1,700 tanks. 950 aircraft. Launched a massive offensive codenamed Typhoon. Campaign first stage. Duan German army in the Vyazma area. Destroy more than 600,000 Soviet Red Army personnel. Then quickly occupied the outskirts of Moscow. Destroyed multiple Soviet lines of defense. November 7, 1941. As the Germans approached Moscow. In order to improve the morale of the Soviet Union and its army. Still organized the military parade on Red Square on time. Hundreds of thousands of Red Army troops marched through Red Square. Soviet Union. Showed the world its determination to fight to the end. After the parade, the troops were reviewed. Go straight to the front line. Key leaders of the Soviet Union, including Stalin. Located in Moscow. To demonstrate their determination to hold on to the capital. December 6, 1941. The Soviet Red Army launched a counterattack. In the end, the Soviet Red Army cost 1 million casualties. Destroyed the Germans 500,000. Victory in the Battle of Moscow. Smashed Hitler in 3 or 5 months. Arrogant plan to conquer the Soviet Union. Greatly inspired the anti-fascist people of the world. Determination to fight aggression. December 7, 1941. Japanese fascists were promoted with a southward policy. To establish hegemony in the Asia-Pacific region. But Japan's aggressive policy seriously damaged the interests of the United States and Britain. America had to respond. Limit or even ban the export of strategic materials such as steel and oil to Japan. Freeze Japanese assets in the United States. And increase aid to China, UK, Australia, and other countries. Measures have also been taken. Japan, which relies on imports of strategic materials, is a serious blow. So Japan took advantage of the fact that the American war was not yet ready. Attacked the U.S. Pacific base Pearl Harbor. The devastated U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet. On December 8, the United States declared war on Japan. The Pacific War broke out. December 11, please. Germany and Italy have declared war on the United States. And the United States quickly responded with a declaration of war. December 9. National Government of China. After 10 years of the Sino-Japanese War. Also officially declared war on Germany, Italy, and Japan. World War II reached its peak. January 1, 1942. 26 countries including China, the Soviet Union, the United States and the United Kingdom. A joint declaration of nations was issued in Washington. Publication of the declaration marks the official establishment of the World Anti-Fascist League. From September 1939 to January 1942. The Chinese Army and the Japanese invaders. In the 9th Theater, centered on Changsha. 3 large-scale and intense offensive and defensive battles were launched. Battle of Changsha. China has committed more than 1.20 million troops. The Japanese army invested more than 400,000 troops. Finally, the Chinese army 90,000 casualties. Killed more than 110,000 Japanese. Won the Battle of Changsha. It smashed Japan's strategic goal of destroying the main force of the Chinese army by making an emergency landing. Powerfully defended the vast area of Hunan. And the security of our country's southwest rear. At the same time, the Chinese 8th Route Army launched 100 regiments war in the area behind enemy lines in North China. During the entire campaign, the 8th Route Army fought a total of 1,824 battles. Killed more than 50,000 Japanese puppet army. It dealt a heavy blow to the reactionary arrogance of the Japanese and puppet armies. It greatly inspired the confidence of the whole country in the anti-Japanese war. March 1942. For more effective coordination of anti-fascist operations, the Chinese Expeditionary Force enters Myanmar. Coordinate with the British Army to fight against Japan. June 1942. Japan has successively joined forces with the US military and Allied forces. In the Pacific, two great wars were fought: the Battle of Midway and the Battle of Guadalcanal. Both campaigns ended in Japanese defeat. Allied forces in the Pacific. From then on, it will be transferred to the stage of strategic counteroffensive. July 1942. After Hitler lost the Battle of Moscow, abandoned the entire offensive plan, decided to concentrate the offensive forces on the southern front. The goal is to seize the Caucasus oil fields, occupy the wheat-growing areas of the Volga Valley, take Stalingrad. Hitler believed that once the above objectives are achieved, Russia will lose its oil and food supplies. The connection with the southern region will be severed, so that Germany could easily win the war. So Germany launched its summer offensive in 1942. After nearly 2 months of bloodshed, the last stronghold of the Soviet defense. Fall of Sevastopol. The Germans occupied the entire Crimean Peninsula. July 11th. The German Sixth Army enters the Stalingrad Oblast. July 17th. The Germans exchanged fire with the Soviets on the lines of the Zir and Zimra rivers in the Great Don. The Battle of Stalingrad is officially underway. Hitler committed 2 million forces to end the war against the Soviet Union before large numbers of American troops arrived in Europe. 1,200 tanks and more than 600 aircraft. And the Soviets put in more than 3 million. And a lot of planes and tanks. Battle of Stalingrad. It's been called the Meat Grinder War. Soldiers on the battlefield survive on average less than 24 hours. No more than 3 days for officers. At the height of the battle, soldiers don't even survive for more than 9 minutes. It was as tragic as ever. In the end, the Soviets 2 million casualties. Wounded the German army 1.50 million. Victory in the Battle of Stalingrad was piled with blood. Battle of Stalingrad. It was not just a turning point in the Soviet-German battlefield. It was also a turning point in the entire Second World War. The balance of power in the Soviet Union began to fundamentally reverse. The Germans moved to defense. The Soviet army gained the strategic initiative. This transformation accelerated the overall course of the anti-fascist war, prompted the entire anti-fascist war begin to switch from defense to offense. October 23, 1942. Germany and Italy attempt to occupy Egypt. Control of the Suez Canal. Launched the Battle of El Alamein. The battle lasted 12 days. Ultimately, the British-led Allied forces ended in victory. April 1943. Anglo-American troops defeat German and Italian troops in the battlefield of North Africa. July 10. Anglo-American Allied forces win by landing in Sicily, southern Italy. Destroy the German and Italian 160,000. Sicily landing station. Political shock to the Italian government. Led to a coup in Italy. Eventually, the fascist government of Mussolini was replaced by a new government formed by Badoglio. September 3. Badoglio announces Italy's unconditional surrender and withdrew from the Axis alliance and declared war on Germany. At the same time as the landing on Sicily, Hitler launched the Battle of Kursk against the Soviet Union, intended to inflict massive casualties on the Soviet army, so as to fully regain the strategic initiative. The Soviet High Command had insight into the German strategic intentions, prepared for a dominant army. Artillery, tanks, and aircraft are ready. This battle. The Germans and the Soviets dispatched nearly 8,000 tanks. Both sides committed more than 2.80 million soldiers. The Air Force has more than 5,000 combat aircraft. The largest tank battle in history. And the largest single-day air battle on record. The Battle of Kursk was finally won by the Soviets. The German army was defeated and ended. But the Soviets paid a heavy price. Loss of troops 800,000. More than 3,000 tanks were lost. 1,700 aircraft lost. The Germans lost 500,000. Loss of 1,500 tanks. Loss of 1,000 aircraft. The Battle of Kursk was also the last major German strategic offensive against the Soviet Union. After that, the Germans lost all strategic initiative. And the Soviets began to launch large-scale and continuous strategic offensives. Successfully drove the Germans out of the Soviet Union. 22 to 26 November 1943. The leaders of China, the United Kingdom and the United States met in Cairo, Egypt. Signed the Cairo Declaration. Statement of the World Anti-Fascist Allies. Will continue to fight against Japan until the Japanese fascists surrendered unconditionally. At the same time, it is clearly stipulated: the Chinese territory occupied by Japan, including Taiwan's Penghu Islands and the 3 northeastern provinces, must be returned to China. November 28 to December 1, 1943. The leaders of the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom and the United States held a meeting in Tehran, the capital of Iran. The conference decided to open a second front in Europe to defeat Nazi Germany as soon as possible. June 6, 1944. Anglo-French and American forces, under the command of Commander-in-Chief Eisenhower, concentrated forces 2.88 million and 6,000 warships of various types, 13,700 aircraft, crossing the English Channel. The Normandy landings in northern France. In the end, the Allies' 220,000 casualties killed nearly 300,000 Germans, successfully opened up the second battlefield on the European continent. In August, the Allies entered Paris to retake France. At the same time, the Soviets also launched a more intense attack on the Germans on the Eastern Front. On June 22, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration. Launch a strong offensive in 4 directions. Defeated German Army Group Center in one fell swoop. A total of more than 1 million German troops were wiped out. And liberated Romania one after another. Bulgaria, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Poland and other countries. By this point, the Germans had retreated to the mainland in the east. Part of the Soviet army entered Germany, further accelerating the process of the demise of German fascism. October 20, 1944. An American amphibious force attacked Leyte Island in the middle of the Philippine Islands. The Battle of Leyte Bay broke out. The Allies committed 17 aircraft carriers to this station, 12 battleships, 24 cruisers, 141 destroyers, 1,500 aircraft. Japan invests 4 aircraft carriers, 9 battleships, 19 cruisers, 34 destroyers, approximately 200 aircraft. In terms of the total tonnage of warships put into battle by the two armies. Battle of Leyte Bay. It was the largest naval battle in history. It was also the last aircraft carrier battle to date. Ultimately, the Allies relied on their overwhelming numerical superiority. Completely destroyed Japan's aircraft carrier force. It dealt a serious blow to Japan's overall strength. From now on, the Japanese combined fleet in the Pacific War. It is no longer a strategic force. This battle also laid the foundation for the subsequent successful capture of the Philippine Islands, Okinawa, and other places by the U.S. military. March 1945. The Allied forces of the United States, France, Britain, and other countries forcibly crossed the Rhine and advanced into the hinterland of Germany. At the same time, Soviet Army on the Eastern Front. On April 16. Launch a powerful offensive to the west from the Oder River. Begin the Battle of Berlin. April 25. The two armies of the United States and the Soviet Union meet on the banks of the Elbe River south of Berlin. The east and west fronts of anti-fascist Germany are now connected. Under the east-west attack of the Soviet and American-British Allied forces, Hitler gathered 1 million troops. Built 3 lines of defense east of Berlin. 3 layers of defense were built around the city of Berlin. April 26, 1945. The Soviets launched a furious attack on Berlin. It's street by street in the inner city. The German Reichstag was finally captured on April 30. 3 p.m. on the same day. Hitler and his wife Eva Braun. He committed suicide in the underground bomb shelter of the Reich Chancellery. May 7, 1945. Germany signs unconditional surrender. The European anti-fascist war has ended successfully. May 8, 1945. In the Pacific battlefield, the Americans launched a more aggressive offensive, continuously approaching the Japanese mainland. At the same time, anti-Japanese armed forces in China and other countries. It also launched counter-offensives across Asia. July 16, 1945. The United States successfully detonated the world's first atomic bomb. Allies can easily understand the consequences of this powerful weapon and the responsibilities that users should assume. But the Japanese carried out the Manila Massacre in the Philippines, manufacturing the Nanjing Massacre in China, and the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in the United States. It has reached a point where it has angered the Allies. The Allies believe that on the belligerent nature of Japanese militarism. Don't make him pay a heavy price. Does not pose a lethal deterrent to it. Japan will never put down its butcher knives. The price paid by the people of Asian countries is bound to be even more severe. July 26, 1945. China, the United States and the United Kingdom issue the Bostan Announcement. Demands that Japan surrender unconditionally. Otherwise, it will be the final blow. August 6 and 9, 1945. The United States dropped atomic bombs codenamed Little Boy and Fat Man. Devastating bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. The two bombings killed more than 200,000 people. Tens of thousands of buildings were destroyed. August 8, 1945. The Soviet Union declared war on Japan according to the Yalta Agreement and dispatched 1.50 million troops to attack the Japanese Guandong Army in northeast China. At the cost of 32,000 Soviet casualties. Destroy 670,000 Japanese. At the same time, China's anti-Japanese armed forces also launched a full-scale attack on the Japanese army. August 14, 1945. Japan announced its acceptance of the Potsdam Proclamation. August 15. Emperor Hirohito of Japan issues the final edict of the war by radio. Declare unconditional surrender. September 2, 1945. Japanese government representatives signed an unconditional surrender on the deck of the USS Missouri. At this point, World War II ended with the defeat of the fascist Axis and the victory of the anti-fascist Allies.